You're listening to the Global Sales Leader Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Cooper. I'm a sales strategist, sales coach. I'm actually a sales relationship coach. So what does that mean is, given those good facets of helping people, clients, coaches, trainers, salespeople to get an understanding to build that relationship with your end client and your client's base. So this is part 2 with Chris Croft, where we'll be having a look at 8 different strategies. And on part 2, which is this part 2, we're looking at strategy 5, 6, 7, and 8, all on success. I know you're going to enjoy this.
Being assertive and disciplined, they come from goals. And they are absolutely success qualities, aren't they? I mean, they're
I was
really...
going to say something actually, because a guy that I've been speaking to online, he's a friend of a friend, but I had a chat with him, and he's about 75, 80, but he's got the most amazing attitude to life.
Yes.
And I'm probably stealing one of 5, 6, 7, or 8 there, but I'm not sure. I think the attitude in life, you can have a bad attitude or you can have an incredibly good attitude. And I think that's all to do with your positive mindset and this, that, and the other. But I think you've also got to be a realist as well. Meaning, some days you have crap days. Some days it doesn't go to plan.
Yeah.
And I think you have to take a step back and just go, look, life will throw all sorts. But we didn't know about COVID. And I've got a bit of a cold at the moment, which has left me feeling a little bit more lethargic than I'd like to be. But I have to accept that and go, it's all to do with my attitude, and it's all what...
Well, when COVID came in, I mean, I'm a trainer. I stand up in front of 20 people every day. And I remember thinking, this is going to be interesting. Are they all going to wear masks? Am I going to wear a mask? What are we going to do? But of course, Zoom came along, and I thought, actually, Zoom could be great. Because now I can train people in America, and for years I've had people in America saying, if you're ever over here, come and do a day. But now I can say, let's do it by Zoom. Yeah. And also with Zoom, it means I can do 1 hour a week, say, for somebody in Manchester. Whereas, if I'm going to drive all the way to Manchester, I've got to do it for a day, haven't I? So it means I can do training an hour at a time, which is less disruptive for them. And they can digest an hour's worth for a week before the next one. So it's better for them. So if you've got a positive attitude, loads of positive things can come out of even something as awful as a pandemic. You can think, well, this could actually be better in some ways. And of course, working from home is great for a lot of people, and that's come from the pandemic. So I agree, I absolutely think. But the other thing you just sparked off a thought in my mind there is about being realistic about goals. Because, so for example, I know a young lad who wants to be an astronaut. And I'm thinking, bless him, he's never going to be an astronaut, because to be an astronaut you've got to be, you've got to be 6 foot tall, super fit, incredibly clever. You've got to be Superman almost. And this guy, and this guy, he's normal, but he's but should I tell him, he's only young, should I tell him that you're never going to do that? And so it's quite difficult, but I absolutely think, even if you've got a goal that's massive, you're still going to get half the way there, or 3/4. You could still get a job working for NASA, or you could still get into the design of rockets or whatever.
Yeah.
And actually, you may discover later on that actually that's perhaps more enjoyable than being an astronaut, because it's probably more suitable for you, and therefore you'll enjoy it. And there are jobs which, if I had got them, I would never have enjoyed, and I'm glad I didn't get them, sort of thing.
Well, there comes that SMART acumen, isn't it? Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bounded. Like this year, I wanted to run 52 kilometers up in the mountains, but then I had 3 injuries, which gave me a knockback. But in my head, I want to achieve that next year, so I pushed it back until I get my fitness back up.
You can do it.
That's one of my goals.
It's take a bit longer. But the achievable, realistic, I'm not sure about that, because I think if you're talking about a production goal at work of how many things you can make in a day, it should be achievable and realistic, because otherwise people get depressed. But I think when you're thinking about your life goals, I don't think you should filter them for how realistic is it or how achievable is it, because I think you should stretch yourself to aim for things that you almost can't imagine. So you should think, I'm going to get 1 million views of my podcast. And part of you is thinking, whoa, hang on a minute, can I do that? But the answer is, don't worry, just put it down anyway.
Yeah.
And the worst that'll happen is you'll only get 500,000, but that'll still be great.
That's the Disney methodology. Have you ever tried that? Distilled by Robert Dilts. So there's 3 areas. There's the dreamer, there's the realistic, and there's the critic. So the dreamer is distilled on Walt Disney. You throw as many ideas out there, as ridiculous as they might be, about your product or service or whatever it might be. And you write all the ideas down on the paper and go, I'm going to do that, I'm going to be an astronaut, and blah, 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 whatever it might be, whether it's your product or whether it's your service or whether it's your life goals. And then you come down to be realistic, and then you look at the idea and go, well, maybe that might not work and all that. And then you criticize the hell out of it. And then you go back into the circle again. Yeah,
that's good. As long as you got the dreamer in there. Yeah. Because I think some people don't dream big enough. So I think goals are just hugely important, and start with a big dream. Don't filter your goals before, do the dreaming before you even start on the realism part of it.
Yeah, I think totally agree. I'm actually really interested in number 5 because I've seen it throw a beam of light at me, and I want to see number 5 because I know the audience in the Global Sales Leader podcast who's fascinated by that, because I love the 4 because they all make sense.
They do. What's going to be next?
I don't know, a big drum roll here.
Yeah, well, the next one actually, it's a fairly simple idea, but it's learning. And I just think that these days, all you've got is what's between your ears and your muscles. And these days, muscles are pretty much irrelevant. There's not many jobs that are physical now. It's all about what you've got between your ears, your happiness, your success, everything. And if we were talking, say, about a salesperson, what makes them successful? It's all about, the skills they've got in here. And I quite like to say to salespeople, what's your favorite sales book? And they often go, oh, I don't know, or I've never read one, And you think, if you're going to do this for your living, and your life's going to depend on it, and your happiness and your success and everything, read one book a year on selling,
Absolutely.
And of course, the modern equivalent of reading books is probably video courses or audio courses and podcasts and things. Yeah. They're all versions of books, really. But, all you've got is the people you meet and the books you read. So you learn a bit from people and you learn a bit from reading. And when I do a training course, all I am really is a conductor of ideas. So I've read lots of books, pulled out the best bits. And my job is to sort of curate that material and give you what I think are the best bits.
So, Chris, what's your favorite book then? What's your favorite book?
What, my favorite sales book?
Or whatever, in learning, teaching, or that's helped you.
Oh my God, there are quite a few. I really like The Fifth Discipline by Peter Senge. The Fifth Discipline is really interesting, and that's all about the systems that underlie everything. Has underlying systems, and if you can work out what the system is, then you can make. So managers are mostly just reacting, and any manager would do the same thing in the same situation. So therefore, they're not really controlling it, are they? So you've got to work out what the system is, and that's a really clever book. But there's a little book called How to Be a Rainmaker, which is a sales book. How to Be a Rainmaker. That's just a really small sales book, and I love that. And actually, I don't like all of the 1 Minute Manager series, but there's a book called Sales and the 1 Minute Manager, or the 1 Minute Salesman, or something.
Yeah, I've read the 1 Minute Salesman. Yeah.
That's good, I think. But there's also a book called Managing Management Time by William Onken, Oncken, Managing Management Time. And I think it's out of print, but you can get it secondhand on Amazon. And that's a brilliant book. That's a really interesting book. And he was the guy who invented the idea of the monkey, that don't take the monkey. So if somebody who works for you comes and says, I've got this problem, if you say, okay, leave it with me, then that job jumps from him to you, like a monkey jumping from his back onto your back. And he was saying, don't do that, because if you do that, you end up taking on all the problems of everyone who works for you. It's like you've got 7 bosses.
That's like the chimp paradox, isn't it?
Well, the chimp paradox is a different idea. I actually don't really like the chimp paradox as a book, because, it is a good idea that you have an inner chimpanzee and you've got to keep discipline. But that idea has been around for years. It used to be called your inner child. And there was post-adult child and transactional analysis and all of that. and he's just made it a chimp rather than a child, and it's like a one idea book. And I mean, yeah, it's an important idea, but I don't know why that book is so famous, because it's not even a new idea, and it's only one idea.
I tell you that my favorite book, and not necessarily into sales, but it is applicable to sales, is Influence by Robert Cialdini.
Oh God, yes, that I should have said that. I love that.
I keep going back to it, and he's just written a new version of it with an extra 200 pages or words or whatever, and that's phenomenal as well. I love that.
I would say go on Amazon, get it secondhand. Just get the previous version, which is now available for 5p or something, because it's fantastic, and it's really funny as well, and it's based on real experiments that he did of buying somebody a can of Coke and the next day saying, will you sponsor me, and all these. It's so interesting, isn't it? Influence by Robert Cialdini. That's a great book. Yeah,
it's definitely up there with one of my all-time favorites. But I get myself into a habit. My habit now, and I'm sticking to it, is every morning between 8 and 8:30, 9, or 7:30 to 8, I read 2 or 3 chapters of a book. And every day I fly through a book. So, and I learn stuff and I highlight it all
you'll
down.
eat through the books. If you do half an hour a day, you'll eat through the books.
Yeah.
You'll get through one a week, probably. Yeah. There's another really good sales book by Brian Tracy, actually.
Oh, yes.
I can't remember what it's called. I think it's just called Selling or something. And I learned about selling from him originally from cassettes in my car. And you can get a couple of CDs as well that have got his sales stuff on. And he had the best-selling sales cassette set of anybody ever in the world. So Brian Tracy's selling thing, and he also had a set of tapes called The Psychology of Achievement, and that is just utterly brilliant. And half the stuff I'm telling you about is nicked from The Psychology of Achievement. I mean,
and I think we all do that as well, don't we? We take little parts of books, and we learn it and go, I love that, and I love that. And even part of your course that you did online, I said, oh, I like that, I'm going to take that, and then you make it your own. What you can't do, and I use that word can't, is you've got to be your own person. You can model behavior, but you can't model the person, because if you model the person, you're never going to be that person. You have to take it into your own and be your own person.
Yes.
And use the attributes and the benefits of what you've learned and make it your own.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much stuff out there. I mean, all the knowledge of the world is in books. And why would you try to reinvent it? Who could be arrogant enough to think that they can reinvent the wheel themselves? So reading books is really important. Read books on whatever you do for a living, like selling, management, whatever. But also read books on success and things generally. And if you admire someone like, say, Richard Branson, who I really admire, another guy for this podcast, then read his autobiographies. He's written 2 or 3 books now, like Losing My Virginity was one of them, and it's really interesting to read about him.
And I think you do stuff in your vertical, which if it sells, but I also think, from my point of view, as you suggested, is you go on the outside of it as well. You go for the psychology, and you go for understanding success. And then you go for the Cialdini's laws of influence, persuasion, or whatever it might be, another behavior and body language and the inner dialogue, or
all that stuff is
or whatever it might be. I think.
And I mean a mini plug, but not really. I mean, I've got about 20 courses on Udemy.com, and they only cost 10 quid. They're always reduced from sort of 90 down to 10. And if you keep an eye on them, when they come down to 10 or 12 quid, that's just nothing. I mean, why would you not watch my sales course for 10 quid? There's bound to be something in there, just one thing you haven't seen before. And not just mine, but everybody else's. Just go on Udemy and just type in what you're interested in, like negotiating or something, and just see. And you can look at free samples. And if you think one of them's good, might be mine, might not, just get it. I mean, 10 quid. But it's really weird how people won't invest even 10 quid. They go, I'm not paying that. And yet, they'll spend 10 quid on a glass of wine or a packet of fags, won't they?
And I think it goes back to number 2 is responsibility or accountability. You expect sometimes, if you're in these big tech companies, you expect them to invest in you rather than you invest in you.
Yes.
Which makes difference.
Brilliant.
And that's why these expecting people now that they job hop from one place to another, and they're expecting the company to invest in them. Okay, happy days. You get the training, you get the support, and all that. Wonderful. But if you're not doing it yourself, you're never going to learn.
And if your company does arrange courses, go on every course. If there's a time management course, go on it, because there's bound to be one good thing you pick up from that day. If the company's paying, why would you not? And as you say, if they're not paying, pay for it yourself. And because it's you're investing in you for your whole future life. So it's all about what you learn, and there should be a constant thirst for new ideas. Podcasts are free. Why would you not have a podcast on all the time when you're driving your car around and things, So I think.
So what's number 6 then? I'm really intrigued about number 6. We're expanding our conversation because we love to talk, but we also like to feed forward and give other people golden nuggets of where they want to be in their lives. And podcasts like this is phenomenal for that. And Chris, you've given so many.
I'm loving this. This is great fun. Yeah, number 6 is helping other people. And I'm not that good at this, actually, because I'm not really very nice, I don't think, in many ways. But I have sort of discovered that if you help other people, first of all, you feel good, because I think we are programmed to help other people, aren't we? But also, they feel good. And also, they probably will repay that at some point. In the end, you reap what you sow. And there does seem to be this justice in the world that if you help people, it will come back. And it may not even come back from the same person.
I agree.
And it's huge. And it is built in. I quite like watching these videos on YouTube where they rescue a turtle from the sea and they undo the fishing nets and they set it free. And it's great. Why should you help a turtle? It's never going to help you. But the point is, you feel good doing it. Even watching somebody else do it, you feel good.
So Chris, I was going to give you a suggestion here. I can't help it because I get very excited. But it's, when you get agitated and you get annoyed about something and your broadband goes down and you go, I'm going to scream down the phone at a customer service person. But if you take a step back by helping others, by being nice to them, inadvertently they're going to be nice back to you, and then they're going to solve your problem.
And it's not their fault you've had the problem. It's not their fault there's a huge queue of people waiting. It's not their fault they're understaffed, is it? That person's probably a really nice person. So you're right. And the essence of sales isn't flogging something to somebody. It's finding out how you can help them. And if you help the customer, then they'll be back to repeat and they'll recommend you to other people, and everything just becomes easier. So and if you're a manager, if you have a mindset of trying to build up your staff, not trying to screw them for as much work as you can get out of them, or trying to keep them down because you're more important or something, but if your attitude is to help them and build your machine of people that you've got, then it's going to work better. So everything comes back to helping other people in the end. And so and you just got to work out how you can help people. That's the question, isn't it?
I was going to say, I do apologize talking over you then. It's Zig Ziglar is help people to get what they want. And that always sits in my head. Because again, in sales, it's not about you, it's about them.
Yeah, totally. And that will encourage you then to ask them lots of questions, which means that you will then learn, what their needs are and how the best way to sell it to them is. And there's loads of benefits from being a good questioner. And that comes from wanting to help them. So I think helping other people is a real success quality. And some people do it naturally, and some people have to kind of force themselves to do it. I saw some video of an experiment. It was probably Cialdini. There's an experiment they did, and they had a guy with like a trolley of all these boxes going down the pavement, and he tips it over, deliberately, and all these boxes fall all over the pavement, and it's like a busy Monday morning in London or somewhere. And all these people are stepping over the boxes. Oh, you're blocking the pavement. And nobody stops to say, let me just help you put them back on that trolley. And eventually somebody helps him, But it was really interesting because nobody helps him. And it wouldn't take you a moment just to stop and help this guy and feel good. And maybe you'll get talking to him. Who knows where it will lead? It may lead nowhere. But you'll feel good that you've done it, and you'll make him feel better. And we've got this world now where we think somebody else will help him. Somebody else will do that. And the experiments show that if it's only you and him, you help him. But if there's loads of people, you think, well, I don't need to because somebody else will. And then nobody does. And nobody will help. Even somebody who's collapsed, nobody will help them if there's lots of people around, which is terrible, isn't it, really?
I think they did. I remember the experiment they did on that, and I think it's quite sad, really, because the way I look at the world, right, I don't do it all the time, but if you help someone else, you're not expecting anything in return, but something else goes out into the ether, into the world, whatever it might be, but something will come back to you, whichever direction it will come back.
You reap what you sow, for sure. You absolutely, yeah. And, I've been training some people up to be trainers recently, and you could argue, why should I give away all my secret stuff to these people? But of course, one of the things that could well come back is that I'll teach somebody how to teach, let's say, time management or selling, and they'll go off and do that. But every now and then they'll be asked about, can you do project management? And they'll say, well, no, but Chris does.
Yeah.
And I'll get more work from it. Yeah. So if you've got sort of an abundance mentality, that it's fine. And on my website, I've got loads of free stuff. And people have said to me, don't give away so much free stuff, Chris. Chris Croft Co. UK. I've got chriscroft.com as well now. Yay.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. But people have said to me, well, you shouldn't give away so much free stuff. But I think you've got to have an abundance mentality, that if people go there because there's lots of interesting things, they might buy my happiness book, or they might get me in for a training course or whatever. And actually, so what if they don't? I've made some people happy anyway, haven't I? So
Marshall Goldsmith. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
He actually have a look at him. He's the #1 leadership expert in the world, apparently, and he gives away all of his knowledge for free.
Wow,
and it's phenomenal for that.
Yeah,
and he's trained the top 100 coaches, or in his leadership style, but he's just giving his knowledge away. But inadvertently, he gets loads and loads of work out of it.
It's definitely a success quality. It's definitely a success quality, that sort of abundance mentality, helping other people attitude. So, and when I was doing this list of 8 things, I was trying to think of things you could actually do. And I think you really can do that. Shall I zoom on to number 7?
Number 7 would be awesome.
Number 7 is do it now, don't procrastinate. I do like books on time management. I'm really interested in time management. And there's one by Mark Forster. Mark Forster's a really interesting writer. I like him. And he wrote a book called How to Get Everything Done and Still Have Time to Play. What a great title. And half of it I'd already seen before. But I got something I learned from that book was, he said, procrastination is the biggest evil of all. He said that it can ruin your life if you let it. And, salespeople, they postpone phoning that big customer. And when they finally make the call, they go, oh, if only you'd phoned me last week, because I've just bought it from somebody else, And then salespeople, they postpone the follow-up call, don't they? Oh, I'll phone him next week. And by the time you phone up, they go, well, you didn't call me and I assumed you weren't interested and I bought it from someone else. And it's like, So procrastination affects everything. And in this book, Mark Forster said, the thing that you're resisting most right now will be the thing that would add most value to your life if you did it.
Yep.
So for ages, I resisted being filmed for my website. I just didn't, nobody likes being filmed. And you sort of look at yourself and you think, oh God, do I look like that? And
do I sound like that? Yeah.
Yeah, do I sound like that? And so you put it off, don't you? And I finally got around to being filmed. And that then led to LinkedIn Learning, which has led to thousands of views and all this. And that was the thing that would add most value. And I put it off actually for several years. I regret that now. So I think to overcome procrastination is really, really important. And successful people don't put things off. They just get on and do it. And I really think
that's imposter syndrome as well, isn't it? That you feel like you're not good enough.
Yeah, we all think we're not good enough, don't we? And even really successful people think they're not good enough. Like pop stars and people have stage fright. And you think, why would you worry about coming onto stage in front of adoring fans, and to sing songs that you wrote, that you can play your instrument with your eyes shut, it's going to be fine. Even if you play a bum note, who cares? I went to see Jackson Browne and he forgot the second half of a song and he stopped halfway through. He said, sorry, everyone, I can't remember the rest. We all just sort of cheered, and it was fine. And he went and he did another song. It's fine, So, but they, even real gods, have stage fright and imposter syndrome. I mean, it's back to self-talk, isn't it? You've got to say, I'm good enough.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect.
I always think
but I'm good enough.
That presentation, if you're doing a keynote presentation, what was always taught to me is no one knows what you're going to say. So if you look at it that way, because you see the eyeballs, but no one knows what you're going to say. So it doesn't matter. Everything that you say is fresh to their ears.
Yeah, I beat myself up afterwards thinking, I forgot to mention this or that. But no one else knows that I've missed something. Exactly. Oh, I've not missed anything yet on this, by the way, I don't think. But
apart from number 8.
Yeah, we'll get to number 8. But so just to finish 7, though, just to say, find a way to overcome your tendency to put things off. And whether it's just to, plunge in and get started, or break it into chunks and take the first step, or, work with somebody else, whatever works for you. Or I personally think visualizing how good it will be when you've done it. Yeah. So, the book I'm writing, I'm visualizing having it finished, and there it is, and it's the best ever book on project management, and there it is, and just that, that feeling is making me think, right, I want to do this. Mm-hmm. But I could also visualize putting it off, and then somebody else writes that book, and I think, oh no, they've written it, and I could have written that, and that might be enough to sting me into action. So you can play mental games with yourself, and you're back to self-talk then, aren't you? But whatever method works for you, and you've got to find just one method. Another thing I do a lot is I write stuff in my diary. So if I allocate an hour a day for writing my book, then that's going to happen, because I'm going to keep that time free, and then there it is. It doesn't work for everyone, but for me that works well. Mm-hmm. So find a way to make yourself into a do it now person. And going back to self-talk, say, I'm a do it now person. I actually am, because I don't like things hanging over me. If there's something a bit horrible and I'm worried about it, it stresses me out. So I just think, right, I'm going to phone that person up and just get it sorted. And I find that makes me happier. Mm-hmm. So I am a do it now person, and I can honestly say that. And if you can't say that about yourself, then say it anyway until it becomes true.
Yeah. Come to fruition.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's important. Now, my final one is to come out of your comfort zone. And I think successful people quite like coming out of their comfort zone, or at least they are prepared to come out of their comfort zone. So I would say to people, for example, volunteer for stuff. If you're still at school and you're watching this, and they say, who'd like to, read the closing address at the ceremony, say, I'll do it. Or, who'd like to organize the sports day, put your hand up, because you will learn from that, and you'll meet people, you'll get contacts, you could put it on your CV. I don't know, there'll be benefits will come. So come out of your comfort zone whenever you can. And it's the only way to grow. It's a real success quality, isn't it? And I've noticed that as I've got older, I've got a bit more cautious. You have to be a bit more physically cautious, because you can break your bones more easily. But if I'm not careful, I get more mentally cautious as well. And there are lots of people, by the way, who come out of their comfort zone physically, and they ride mountain bikes and all that. But when it comes to mental stuff, like giving a talk, I'm not doing that. So you've got to come out of your comfort zone mentally. That's probably more important than physically, actually. And so I still have to push myself. Quite often I think, somebody says, do you want to do a talk to a load of people in a foreign country on a slightly difficult subject? And it's really easy to think, nah, but do it, because you don't know where it's going to go. And it's the only way to keep growing is to keep pushing, your boundaries outwards. So I think coming out of your mental comfort zone, got to do it.
It's one of those qualities that you can if you don't say you're going to do it, you're going to regret it. And life's not here to be full of regrets. No. I think you just got to go submerge yourself into the moment and go, yeah, why not? What's the best thing that can happen, as opposed to what worse can happen?
Well, we always regret the things we didn't do, don't we? Yeah. We never regret the things we have done. Yeah. Occasionally, but mostly when you look back over life, it's the things you didn't do that you regret. So that's an argument for, if in doubt, do it. As long as it's not there's a risk it'll kill you. You don't want to do it. But if the only risk is that you're going to look stupid or get told off or something, then do it.
Yeah.
And I think, you're absolutely right. We don't want to pay the price of regret. And one of the ways that I come out of my comfort zone is I've got a mastermind group. And I don't know if you've talked about mastermind groups at all on here, but I wanted to be a millionaire a few years ago. And so I just I knew about 5 millionaires who all run their own businesses, really successful people. And I said, could we all meet up for a curry? And we did, and it was great. And all these guys were comparing notes and really high-powered people, and it was fascinating. And I said, could we make this a regular thing? Because this has been really useful to me. And they went, yeah. So I've got the Millionaires Curry Club now. Everyone except for me is there. But it pushes me out of my comfort zone, because they say to me, so what are you up to at the moment, Chris? And I go, well, I'm doing this. And they go, well, why don't you go bigger? Why don't you do that in America as well? And I go, oh, I don't know. And they go, come on, Chris, you could do it. Why would you not? And I go, well, I'd have to spend £500 on setting up. And they go, well, spend it. And they think bigger than me. And that's great, because they push me out of my comfort zone. And then when we next meet, they go, so Chris, did you do it? So the mastermind group is brilliant. And in fact, I've got two. I've got another one where we look at just marketing, internet marketing, and we look at each other's websites and
oh, very cool.
And it's really interesting. And we look at the, LinkedIn pages and why this worked and didn't work and things. And we all give each other advice. And it's so powerful and so good. So absolutely set up a mastermind group with people who you respect and are interesting. And that's so much better than, being down the pub with a load of miserable people complaining about life, And just meet every couple of months and maybe have a meal and chat. And I think that is one way to come out of your comfort zone. But coming out of your comfort zone, that's definitely a success quality. And that's number 8.
Awesome. So, Chris, I've got a final question for you, actually.
Oh.
If you were interviewing you, what sort of questions would you ask you if you were interviewing you?
Well, job interviews are such a random process, aren't they? They're not very reliable. Research has shown that. It's quite difficult to get the truth out of a person. So the first thing is just to get them chatting, just get them telling stories, because then you see the real them. So I wouldn't say something like, what are your top 3 success qualities? Or where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Or something like that. I don't think I would ask that. I think I would say, what excites you? What do you love? What do you love doing? And I think I would say, and similarly, and if they told me about something outside work, I'd then say, what about at work? What do you like best about the work you do at the moment? I think I'd want to ask them positive questions, because if you say, what don't you like, or what's your biggest fault, or something like that, then a good person's going to struggle to answer that, really. I would also say, what have you read recently that you enjoyed? Because I do think that's a real test of finding out about that. I think I might also say, what would you change about the way we run our business? Because it'd be interesting to see whether they've done any research, because we know that people who are keen to do a job perform better when they get there. Yep. So, and if they're keen, they would have at least looked into if they go, I don't know, I don't even know what you do, don't give them a job. So they need to be keen. And if they're keen enough to really be proactive and have thought about it, if they say, well, I've looked into the company and I'd restructure it and I would combine these countries, or I would have a lower price product to go with the 2 expensive ones, or something like that, or I would put the prices up because you just don't charge enough. Yeah. That if they've really, I think, what would you change about the way we run our business? That's a bit of a tough question, but if they're a good person, I think that would be interesting.
Yeah.
So it depends a bit on, what job role you're looking for, doesn't it? But but I think, just what do you love doing, and see if there's any passion there. Because the people who frustrate me most are the ones who are not passionate about anything, and they just go, don't know really, And I remember years ago, I don't know if you want to edit this from the podcast, but years ago I had a girlfriend who was very compliant. She just did whatever I wanted, really. So I used to say, should we go and see a film tonight? And she'd go, yeah, all right then. And I go, what do you want to see? And she'd go, I don't mind really. And I go, should we go and see RoboCop? She'd go, yeah, all right. And afterwards I'd say, what did you think of that? And she'd go, it was all right. And you know, and some people might say that's the ideal girlfriend or wife or partner, someone who just does whatever you want. But I don't want that.
No.
You know, I want someone who says, no, I don't want to see RoboCop. I don't want to see that. And I don't want to eat this. I want to eat this. And I want someone with opinions and passion, you know. And so that's what I would look for. Because I think, you know, a lot of people just follow the flock and do what they're told. And that's just how life is. And I want, maybe I can finish with a quote, because there's one of my favorite quotes. I don't even know who said this. Is the reasonable person adapts to the world. The unreasonable person tries to change the world, tries to adapt the world to be the way they want it. But all progress depends on the unreasonable person, you know, and I am that unreasonable person. I'm going, these traffic lights, they take too long on green and too long on red or whatever. And I'm writing to the council, you should change the traffic lights. And I'm like, why is the serving system so inefficient in McDonald's or whatever? And I'm trying to change the world to be the way I think it should be. And that is ridiculous and unreasonable. And my wife often says to me, Chris, just let it go. But all progress comes from unreasonable people. And, you know, I think you might as well die when you get to the point where you're just going to lie down and surrender and let the world run you over.
You're not the last person to say that on the podcast.
Really? Yeah, I love that quote, though. All progress depends on the unreasonable person. And I absolutely believe that. And you obviously don't want to waste loads of energy on things you can't do anything about. I don't spend time worrying about... well, you know, when Donald Trump was president, some people used to worry about what he was going to do. And I thought, well, there's no point in me wasting mental energy on that because I can't affect what he does. So I do like the argument of only focus on things you can do something about. But I think you can do something about a lot more than you realize. And, you know, you can go to the local school and say, why don't you have more career talks? I'll do one if you like, or whatever. And you can... You know, you can talk to the manager in the hotel and say, you know, this process you've got is useless or whatever. So I absolutely think you can make a difference. You can make a difference to the world, and you should. And I think that's a success quality.
Awesome. Chris, it's been absolutely phenomenal today. Really thoroughly enjoyed speaking to you. We got on for quite a while, but I thoroughly enjoyed every single.
Yeah, it's been really fun. Yeah, we got over time, but so what? But what I like my list of 8 things. It's been great. I've loved it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You've listened to the Global Sales Leader podcast. I'm your host, Jason Cooper. We've had someone phenomenal today, Chris Croft, given lots and lots of golden nuggets of knowledge, inspiration, thoughts, ideas, something that you can take away and learn for yourself. So thank you once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.